Gypsy Rose, her doctor and her lawyer. Examples of professional codes of ethics. Medical Code of Ethics, doctors, governed by principles like the Hippocratic Oath and, in the U.S., by the American Medical Association Code of Medical Ethics. Core principles, beneficence, acting in the best interest of patients. Non-maleficence, do no harm. Autonomy, respecting patients' rights to make decisions about their care. Confidentiality, maintaining privacy of patient information. Legal Code of Ethics, lawyers, governed by the American Bar Association ABA Model Rules of Professional Conduct in the U.S. Core principles, competence, providing knowledgeable and skillful representation. Fiduciary duty, acting in the client's best interests. Confidentiality, protecting client information. Honesty, being truthful to the court and others. Let's start with Dr. Robert Beckerman. He was Gypsy's doctor when she was only 3 months old and required a CPAP machine for sleep apnea. Gypsy saw Dr. Beckerman for several years in Louisiana and then later also saw the same Dr. Beckerman in Missouri. It's said he helped them get the Habitat for Humanity house and spent holidays with Gypsy and her mother. Isn't this crossing the lines of ethics? From Reddit, Dr. Beckerman, Gypsy claims her mom took her to different doctors and moved a lot. But she lived in the same house in Missouri for 6 or 7 years, right? Before that, Louisiana. Her doctor in Louisiana moved to Missouri but kept his license in Louisiana and continued to see Gypsy. After Hurricane Katrina, they moved to Missouri also and started going to the hospital he worked at. They also lived in Aurora for 2 years where they never saw a doctor or went to a hospital. Does this info have any impact on your opinion on the case? This is the same doctor that wrote in his medical records that they were his favorite patients, the same doctor they spent holidays with, the same doctor that helped get them the house. Spending holidays with your doctor seems so inappropriate, especially on his part. I have a fantastic doctor who has inspired me a lot, but the thought of my having them over to my house for Christmas, or really any occasion, makes me feel so squicked out and icky. Right? I adore my son's pediatrician, but we aren't over here inviting her to BBQs. I read about this on FB. It is indeed very interesting. Opens up a whole new rabbit hole. Honestly, yes, but so does the tinted windows on the house. How strong her legs were despite being wheelchair-bound. The fact all meds haven't impacted her health. I think this doctor was probably playing along with the charade, which is why Dee Dee followed him and kept him as her doctor. He was probably aware of the charade, because, how could he not know that she didn't have any of these things? Right? I was just thinking this. Did anybody investigate this doctor? Is he still practicing? Playing along and bleeding the insurance dry? No wonder she was his favorite patient. He was benefiting from the charade as much as them. From the Springfield News Leader, June 16, 2015. Poking around, the house, the wheelchair, all a scam? What an incredible and sad story. And now I'm wondering, perhaps like you, how much of Gypsy Rose Blanchard's life has been a charade? It appears, thanks to the reporting of colleague Harrison Keegan, that Gypsy's mother years ago, possibly Gypsy's whole life, concocted a scam to flim-flam the good-hearted. To neighbors and friends, Gypsy had apparently been confined to a wheelchair for years. But we learned Tuesday that's a hoax. Things are not always as they appear. Sheriff Jim Arnott said at a press conference, "She is walking just fine," Arnott tells me, even when carrying her luggage. Investigators say Gypsy was captured walking on her own 2 feet on surveillance video at several businesses after her mother was slain. Gypsy and boyfriend Nicholas P. Godejohn, 26, of Big Bend, Wisconsin, have been charged with murdering Claudinia D.D. Blanchard, whose body was found Sunday night. Mom and daughter have told their story for years. They came to Missouri as Hurricane Katrina survivors. Is that even true? They definitely lived in Louisiana before moving to Aurora and then Springfield. That is true, according to public records. But it appears to me, in the hindsight of this week, that years ago, they scammed an organization called the Children's Wish Endowment, located in Slidell, Louisiana, where they lived in 2003. According to a December 21, 2003 story in the Times-Picayune, Dee Dee and Gypsy were guests at a Christmas feast sponsored by the organization. Gypsy, then 11, is quoted as saying the organization had already granted her wish, or wishes. She says she went to Walt Disney World and that she swam with dolphins at the Discovery Cove in Florida. In the same story, Dee Dee says her daughter has a neuromuscular disease and other medical problems. In a June 2009 magazine, Dee Dee explains why she no longer had copies of her daughter's medical records. The story was in Treasures, published for supporters of Children's Mercy hospitals and clinics in the Kansas City area. It states, Dee Dee knew it wouldn't be easy to explain the last 14 years of her daughter's medical history to specialists since all of Gypsy Rose's medical records were lost. They were lost because of Katrina, Dee Dee said. Interestingly, the story focuses on Dee Dee and Gypsy reuniting with Dr. Robert Beckerman, who in 2009 was the medical director of the Comprehensive Sleep Disorders Center and chief of the pulmonary section at Children's Mercy. The story states that Beckerman had worked in New Orleans prior to coming to Kansas City and had treated Gypsy in New Orleans for 10 years. The story does not explain what Beckerman treated her for in New Orleans. A hospital spokesman said Tuesday the doctor and hospital could not comment due to patient confidentiality restrictions. Beckerman says this in the story, Dee Dee is such a great advocate for her child. Having a child with special needs is not easy, especially going through what they went through. After Katrina, the medical care regressed dramatically in New Orleans. Gypsy Rose is right where she needs to be, getting state-of-the-art care. In 2008, Dee Dee and Gypsy Rose moved into a Habitat for Humanity house just north of Springfield. It's the house where Dee Dee was found slain. Reporter Dee Dee Tang wrote a story for the News Leader about what was then an auspicious occasion, a day of blessing. It is painful to read that story today. Gypsy Rose, whose age was given as 13, is described as sitting in her wheelchair wearing a pair of furry poo slippers. It's accessible to my needs, she says of the new house. The 3-bedroom house has a ramp for her wheelchair. The doors are wider than normal to accommodate her wheelchair. The light switches were built lower to the floor so she could reach them. The bathroom has a big bathtub so Dee Dee can help her wheelchair-bound daughter bathe. So this was all unnecessary? This was all part of the scam? I can't help but wonder. Did Gypsy ever use her wheelchair when she and her mother were alone in their new house? And then Gypsy talks about the trials and tribulations she and her mother have overcome. A lot of people started to give up, she says, but my mom stayed with me. She never left me. We are a pair of shoes, never good without the other. She turns to her mother and says, Mom, I love you. We made it. There are rumors that Dr. Beckerman is Gypsy's real biological father, and that is why he called her his favorite patient. That would explain why he was her doctor in Louisiana and Missouri and why he would spend holidays with them. Also, Dee Dee was a nurse before Gypsy was born. Did she meet Dr. Beckerman when she worked as a nurse? Did she trick Rod into believing he had gotten her pregnant when she was already pregnant with the doctor's baby? We may never know. Dr. Beckerman is still a practicing physician in Kansas City, Missouri, at Children's Mercy Hospital.
Children are referred to our sleep center for a variety of sleep disorders. The commonality of this is that sleep is disturbed, and therefore their effectiveness during the daytime is impaired. When children have poor quality sleep or quantity of sleep, it affects their moods, their physical activity, energy, and their ability to learn, and their memory. We are evaluating their normal sleep quality, architecture of sleep, and looking for dangers or things that may represent dangers to their breathing or to their continuity of sleep that would affect them during the daytime. Pediatric sleep and sleep research is a new frontier in pediatric medicine, and it will change lives.
This photograph of Gypsy that looks like she's been through a lot of surgery was just a sleep study done by Dr. Beckerman. Now let's talk about Gypsy's attorney, Mike Stanfield. Mike Stanfield was her attorney in Missouri who made everyone believe that Dee Dee had MBP, and so Gypsy got the plea deal. Mike is still with Gypsy in Louisiana acting as her manager. His jurisdiction for law is in Missouri, but it's been said that Mike Stanfield is using his lawyer status to protect Gypsy from complaints made to her parole officer in Louisiana. Recently, Mike Stanfield has been seen at Gypsy's book signing in New Orleans. He was acting like a bodyguard wanting to keep any troublemakers away from Gypsy. Before this, he was seen at Gypsy's baby shower. He also was with her when she left prison and stayed at a home to visit her family. He was on the phone with another attorney who was telling Gypsy she needed to leave Missouri as soon as possible. So why is he always around in some creepy fashion? How does he go from being her attorney in Missouri to being her manager in Louisiana? For a really good look into Mike Stanfield's unethical practices, watch Trixie's video titled Mike Stanfield, the Gypsy Blanchard Case. The following is a post from Trixie, who is a paralegal in Missouri, so she knows about the laws there and tells us all she knows. I've been sitting on some WTFT past few days, unsure if I should even say anything at all. But then I remembered, I can say alleged, or screw Stanfield my thoughts and opinions only. And did I forget to mention screw Stanfield? You might see that a few times. I'm about to adopt it as my motto after what I'm going to say. So since I'm not outing my colleague at all or putting my job at risk, take what I am about to say with a grain of salt. You should 100% draw your own conclusions. Someone who couldn't be closer to Mike Stanfield than if he had just shot out of his mother is apparently friends with my colleague. Something I wish I had never found out, because now I'm anxious as hell. I demand answers and justice, and to watch Stanfield stand his own trial for his crimes. They're there, even if not in plain sight to the majority. One, apparently, he's spending way too much time in Louisiana and missing out on important stuff involving his kids and extracurriculars. Is he even licensed to practice in Louisiana? Manager is just a cover-up title he's using, and we know that. He's absolutely involved in a much deeper part of the whole con. But wait, it gets weirder. Apparently there really is a baby involved, but no one can seem to elaborate who is carrying this baby or how it was decided to become the Blanchard-Urker child. Even in the Stanfield camp, no one knows if she is actually pregnant or not. But there's a baby coming from somewhere. I don't agree. At least where GRB's reproductive system is concerned. According to htmcmedgenomics.biomedcentral, it is very rare for someone with her microdeletion not to put a fetus at serious risk during pregnancy. And in this case, I'm rather certain GRB would be a high-risk case put on bed rest and ordered to not have an ounce of stress. But she's parading around causing usual chaos. She isn't pregnant. She's probably woo-woo witch crafting up one from some poor innocent girl. 3. Allegedly, Stanfield's been paying people off, and not just anyone who has a claim they could tear GRB down. Someone named David Blanchard was recently paid off in Missouri, as well as one other person, but cannot remember the name. Not towards my colleague, because they did great, but to the person running their mouth about this, if a large sum of dollars is being withdrawn to pay someone off. I might want to know who, in case that bites someone in the ass later. Just saying. You'd want to remember the name. 4. Mike did the large withdrawal and payoff all the way from Louisiana somehow. No details given other than it came from company funds tied to Stanfield's law firm address, and that the sum was really high and no memo or note for why was given. All that was really said on the subject was, the office will fix the book, whatever that means. The ledgers? Isn't that like big-time fraud? 5. Here's the kicker we all wanted to know. Why isn't Josh and Trevor doing their job and throwing GRB back in the pen and throwing away the key? Parole gave up on monitoring her other than her monthly check-in, and I have something to say about that alone, because every time one of us writes or calls and complains about her, they were calling her initially to check into it. But Stanfield always came out of Left Park barking, I'm her lawyer, I'm her lawyer, I'm her lawyer, and they gave up, but of him always interfering. So what they're telling me is they are aware he's her manager and her lawyer. First clue to ethics is to know that's illegal as hell. And no one thinks to look and see what 5 states Stanfield is licensed to practice in? Well, we know Missouri is one of them. Either way, screw Stanfield. 6. Everyone's expendable, including Ken, Rod, Christy, Mia, or Dylan. Anyone who are a threat to whatever agreement Stanfield and Gypsy have will be in danger. I'm not sure what that means, because is Ken the daddy or David, Stanfield himself? 7. Finally, people are trying to convince Karina that Mike is cheating on her, but she refuses to fall for the gossip. I don't know how true any of this is. To be honest, it'd be a damn miracle in some way or another. But is it really as far-fetched as it seems? What do y'all think? Comments from Trixies Post. Stanfield is creepy how he is always around, just lurking in the background of every photo. I've often wondered if he could be the father, if there really is a baby. Besides him being shifty, in my opinion, and weird, it isn't rocket science to figure out it's a huge conflict of interest to be a lawyer and manager. He's in deep with that family, and it's sad he's neglecting his own. I also find it odd that Ken went and is still MIA after the paternity test was posted. That's what makes me question if it's not Ken's or Ryan's, Stanfield maybe? Or is a surrogate being used? Somehow she has to show and sell photos to the highest bidder, a baby come January. And if she really is pregnant herself, I fear for the child. It would be a high-risk pregnancy, be of her age and genetic issues. It's just a big mystery at the moment, and like everything in Grifty Noses' world, we probably won't ever know the real truth. Thanks for the tea, and hope you, your family, and this community have safe and happy holidays. Emo, I thinking you are right. This whole case, from the get-go, has had a foul stench. I think Stanfield should be either her attorney or he is her manager, not both. It's illegal to be both, as you stated. He needs to be stopped. Gyp has found the perfect ally in Stanfield. She has her minions, too. They will do whatever Gyp or Stanfield says. That's too much power for either of them to have. Stanfield is dirty, evil, and vile. I'm going to try this again. The Office of Chief Disciplinary Counsel is responsible for investigating and referring complaints, handling ethical complaints about lawyers, and overseeing the state's lawyer discipline system. The Supreme Court of Missouri appoints the Chief Disciplinary Counsel. You can also contact the Missouri Bar. Here's an obvious question for all of you that I don't think anyone has asked. If Mike Stanfield is so sure that Dee Dee had Munchausen by proxy, and that Gypsy Rose was submitted to countless surgeries and medications that she didn't need, then as her lawyer, why isn't he suing the doctors for malpractice? Tell me what you all think in the comments. Did both the doctor and the lawyer perform big breaches of ethics? What needs to be done? What can be done? Please like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you all.